on the show where you can win it all if you don't waterfall. It's the Quiz with Fox. Let's go!
Jamie Foxx and Corinne are back to give away $1 million. Can you beat Shazam? New season premieres tomorrow on Fox.
Now, your primetime local news leader. Fox 22 News at 10.
A Swiss International Airlines flight headed to New York was forced to make an emergency landing in Bangor today. Good evening and thank you for joining us. I'm Beth Jones. It happened after the crew reported smoke in the cockpit. Our Alex Schley spoke with passengers about what they say happened on board.
292 souls on board, 10,000 pounds of fuel remaining, reporting an active fire in the cockpit, not able to put it out.
Just after 12 o'clock Monday afternoon, a Swiss International Airline Airbus A330 en route from Zurich, Switzerland to New York's JFK Airport diverted to Bangor.
When the pilot came over and said, we've got an emergency, that there's smoke in the cabin.
Passengers and coach told our reporters that while they didn't see or smell anything, it quickly became apparent that something was wrong.
The entertainment center went off completely, it went black, and then all of a sudden we noticed the plane going a bit faster, and Joshua noticed that it was turning, and then obviously we started going down. I was like, this is not normal, seeing the flaps go up and how far out we were.
Passengers say from there, the events transpired quickly.
So it was probably about 20 minutes, 15 minutes.
So you were far?
Yeah, we literally just went from there straight down to the ground.
It was a quick descent. My ears were starting to pop.
Once on the ground, passengers say they waited on the runway for about 2 hours while emergency crews inspected the aircraft.
We just know that the fire brigade were coming on board. They said they wanted to come on board and check. They checked the plane, make sure it was okay. The pilot wasn't happy for the plane to continue because they don't know where the smoke came from. So they've just sort of said, we're just going to wait and speak to Zurich.
Just after 3 o'clock, the aircraft pulled into the international gate, where passengers disembarked, cleared customs, and were escorted to the domestic terminal. Passengers say the airline booked them on a replacement flight that's scheduled to leave Bangor around 6 o'clock Monday night. In a statement, a spokesperson from the airline said in part, quote, "At this time, we cannot yet say with certainty what may have caused the smoke. In a situation like this, we take no risks, which is why our crews always choose the safest course of action and act out of an abundance of caution." While the cause remains under investigation, nearly 300 passengers are expected to make it to New York by the end of the day. In Bangor, Alex Schley for ABC 7 and Fox 22 News.
Meanwhile, a home in Trenton was destroyed by fire this morning. According to the Trenton Fire Department, crews were called to 67 Baxter's Ledge Road a little before 5 a.m. They say when they arrived, they found fire extending through the roof. The resident escaped prior to firefighters' arrival and was taken to a hospital for treatment. A dog was also safely rescued from the home and was not injured. Crews from 7 different towns assisted. The Trenton Fire Department says early indications suggest the fire started on the exterior of the home, but the case remains under investigation by the state fire marshal's office. Well, the driver facing charges for allegedly hitting a family during Loonfest in Lincoln is back in custody just days after posting bail. Lincoln police say Carl Hartley of Mattawamkeag was arrested on Sunday for allegedly leading police on a chase and crashing into a cruiser. Our Grace Blanchard has details.
A man accused of running over a family in Lincoln is facing new charges. Lincoln police say 57-year-old Carl Hartley of Mattawamkeag fled from officers following reports of erratic driving. A chase ensued and ended with Hartley allegedly striking a police cruiser in a parking lot. Nobody was injured. Hartley was arrested on several charges, including operating under the influence of drugs and violating bail conditions.
About a week ago, last Saturday, he was involved in a vehicle crash that hit several pedestrians during Loonfest.
According to police, Hartley had been released from jail on bail in connection to the crash that injured a family of 4 only days before this latest arrest.
I'm sure it's frustrating to the people, especially people in Lincoln, that were very frustrated last week that this happened, and now we're dealing with a situation where, you know, he hit a police car, he could have hurt somebody.
Under Maine law, most standard bail violations are Class E misdemeanors rather than felonies. Chief Miller attributes that lack of deterrence to the rising number of repeat offenders.
Yeah, certainly it's not something that the municipalities are going to solve or law enforcement's going to solve. We just can follow what basically we're given for those laws and case law and that sort of thing. So we certainly have to follow that part of it. So, but certainly for us, it can be frustrating.
Bail was set at $10,000 for the new offenses. However, he remains in custody without bail on the alleged violation of conditions. In Lincoln, Grace Blanchard, ABC 7 and Fox 22 News.
Police are asking for the public's help in locating a missing Aroostook County man. 43-year-old Jason Kirschman was last seen in October of 2019. He was last known to be in the Boundary Line area of Hamlin. Kirschman is described as a white male, about 5 feet 10 inches tall and approximately 170 pounds. You can see him right there on your screen. He has brown hair and blue eyes. Now, anyone with information is asked to call the Maine State Police at the number on your screen. That's 1-800-924-2261. After this weekend, we now know that the U.S. Senate race in Maine is officially set, as former Maine Senate President Troy Jackson will be the Democrat who faces off with incumbent Republican Senator Susan Collins. All eyes now turning to the general election this November. We spoke with University of Maine Political Science Chair Mark Brewer about the implications for this weekend's convention and Jackson's victory. He says Jackson's most immediate challenge is getting up to speed, both in terms of fundraising and messaging, which will be no easy task.
As a first-time Senate candidate, you don't just snap your fingers and get the equivalent of a, 5-term United States senator who's running for a 6th. You just don't do that. So it's a matter of time, I suppose, to a certain degree, which, again, given that we're less than 100 days, Jackson doesn't have the luxury of.
Well, Brewer stressed that while that is mostly a disadvantage for him, he says Jackson does have a legitimate shot.
This is still anybody's race, right? This idea that because of all of the things that have happened to the Democrats, that this race is now locked down for Collins and the Republicans, that's just not true, right? This is still anybody's race to win.
Well, Senator Angus King is introducing legislation to protect elections from interference and tampering. The Shield Our Elections Act would allow state attorneys general and impacted voters to sue when federal officials unlawfully intervene with or intimidate them at polling places. King says it strengthens accountability by extending the statute of limitations from 5 years to 9 for key federal election crimes. That includes interference by armed forces and voter intimidation, such that actions can be brought by future administrations for past actions. It also protects ballots from improper seizure by limiting when state or federal law enforcement may seize ballots or election equipment. Senator King says, quote, "The Shield Our Elections Act reinforces those fundamental principles and sustaining public faith in elections that are conducted fairly, partially, and constitutionally, while strengthening accountability for those who attempt to undermine our electoral system," end quote. Well, today is National Korean War Veterans Armistice Day. A ceremony was held in Bangor to commemorate the signing of the agreement on July 27, 1953, that established the ceasefire. Dusty Fisher, organizer of the Bangor event, says many of the local Korean War veterans feel like it is the forgotten war.
But they feel that they've been kind of left out. So to have an event like this and having you folks here to publicize it is good for their spirits, their souls.
More than 36,000 Americans died in the war and more than 103,000 were wounded. Fisher says a lot of the local Korean War veterans are gone now, but it is still important to remember the service they gave to their country. A week-long camp through the University of Maine's Cooperative Extension seeks to teach kids about the importance of growing and harvesting their own food. Our Sam Miller has the story.
Monday marked day number 1 of UMaine's Farm to Table Camp, where youths aged 9 through 12 engage in activities like hands-on agriculture and culinary arts.
A knife is in our hand.
For the past 4 years, the Farm to Table Camp is giving kids in 4th through 6th grade a unique opportunity to connect with the local food system through first-hand experience. After harvesting produce in the morning, campers made their way to the UMaine Cooperative Extension office in Bangor. There they learned about kitchen safety and knife skills before cooking their own healthy meals. Campers split into 3 groups, each tasked with making different items, such as vegetable pinwheels, crepes, and spring rolls. Maine Cooperative Extension horticulturalist Kate Garland is excited to give the campers this type of opportunity and hopes they take away some valuable lessons.
I want them to remember how their food is grown and what goes into that and how they can play a role in the food system, whether they become farmers themselves or if they just become someone that enjoys it in their own kitchen.
After cooking, the campers got to dig in and share their meals amongst their peers. They say their food tastes better when they produce it themselves.
I think when it's something that you picked or harvested or grew, it makes the whole experience a lot more enjoyable, and I think this is definitely one of my favorite camps I've done this summer.
The camp runs all week from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. and concludes on Friday, July 31st. In Bangor, Sam Miller, ABC 7 and Fox 22 News.
Looks like a great experience there. Alrighty, folks, let's pause now and peek outside for a first check of our forecast.
Tonight's first weather is brought to you by Old Town Redemption, now offering a 10% bonus on your returnables and a monthly $100 drawing. We'll take a look at these temperatures. Very summer-like out there. Beautiful weather. We had temperatures in the 80s. Very nice with the humidity as well. We weren't feeling humid. Similar for tomorrow. However, the humidity is going to start to climb tomorrow as well. Now, we do have some showers sneaking their way into the state still. However, these are all going to fizzle out by the end of this evening. We still will have very nice weather lasting through this evening and overnight tonight. We will have some clouds start to roll into the area tomorrow later afternoon into evening, and then we will have some chances for showers and thunderstorms on the way. For tonight, though, temperatures are going to be falling into the mid-50s.
Anna, thank you. Just ahead, we have much more of your local and state news. Stay with us.
Hi. You okay? Yeah, just changing up my look. I see that. I gotta lay low. See that brand new Hyundai Tucson? I only paid.
Huh. Well, you look stunning.
Enjoy your new car. Deal's so right, it almost feels wrong. The Hyundai Getaway Sales Event. Lease an all-wheel drive Hyundai Tucson SE for $209 a month or get 0% APR plus 0 payments for 90 days. Hurry in.
People ask me all the time, does Lowry & Associates really get all of those clients, all of those big settlements? Yes, we do. And you know what else is true? I really am standing on top of this big truck.
When I was 29, I was diagnosed with cancer. And I think part of research and advocating for more money for cancer research allows survivors to have more time. Senator Collins supports and advocates for more funding for cancer research so that people can have better treatments, they can have better outcomes, and therefore they can live better lives as cancer survivors. Thank you, Senator Collins. Continue fighting for our families.
Here at Twin City Tire and Service, you will be working with industry professionals. We have ASE certified master technicians and certified tire and lube technicians. If we need your vehicle for a duration of time, we offer a complimentary shuttle service and can even offer a loaner vehicle. Being a client at Twin City Tire and Service means that we will treat you right. This includes a 3-year, 36,000-mile warranty on mechanical repairs. We also provide you with 1 year of complimentary roadside assistance. Come see us today at Twin City Tire and Service in Brewer.
Something stinks.
My food is good.
Are you delusional?
No, are you?
I don't want to give up. I'm here to help. We're going to start again, and we're going to rebuild this thing.
Kitchen Nightmares, all new Tuesdays on Fox, anytime on Hulu.
President Trump plans to put in place a new 50% tariff on Canadian imports. Brad Rogers looks at the impact it could have on Maine families and businesses.
Autos has been really targeted by the Trump administration, and the automobile sector is highly integrated with Canada and Mexico.
President Trump says one goal of the tariffs is to bring jobs and manufacturing back to the U.S.
They went to Mexico and Canada
They went to Japan, they went to South Korea, car businesses, a lot of businesses, and now they're coming back home where they belong.
After the Supreme Court struck down previous tariffs, President Trump plans to use the Tariff Act of 1930, which worsened the global economic crisis during the Great Depression.
What we're seeing from the administration as they're trying to find new legal mechanisms to impose tariffs.
Local attorney Mark Segrist, who specializes in international trade and customs law, says if the new tariffs go into effect, they will have a dramatic impact on Maine consumers.
Anytime there's a tariff that's imposed on a product crossing the border, the importer in the United States is the one that's ultimately paying that tariff, and most likely they're passing that tariff cost on to consumers.
A local plywood supplier who imports products from Canada says Canadian suppliers won't respond by raising plywood and lumber prices by 50%. He says they'll raise prices on all their products, passing tariff costs on to Maine consumers. The new tariffs will not impact Canadian Power that provides electricity to families in northern Maine, nor will it impact the lobster industry and other fisheries. But a trade war could lead to higher prices and fewer Canadians vacationing in Maine. Maine State Chamber of Commerce leaders hope for a resolution that leads to trade fairness and predictability.
You know, from our perspective, we always support a president trying to push for the best trade deal for Maine and the United States.
Barring negotiations or a possible court injunction, the new tariffs are expected to take effect on August 19th.
And that was Brad Rogers reporting. The ICE agent who shot and killed a man in Biddeford earlier this month is under review. 37-year-old David Brulette shot and killed 25-year-old Johann Sebastian Duran Guerrero on his way to work 2 weeks ago. Brulette's exes told the Associated Press that he has a history of violent behavior. As Sam DeCoste reports, a top White House official claims that should have been flagged in his background check.
ICE has about 30,000 employees. They all go through vetting. This is a kind of a rare instance.
Every time someone applies to ICE to carry a badge and a gun, the agency investigates each person's character and conduct. White House border czar Tom Homan says the vetting process is meant to spot red flags.
Did the vetting process fail? Was that information not available? Did they not know? So there's a separate administrative investigation on what happened here.
The man identified as the involved agent by his ex-partners, David Brulette, does not have a criminal record in Maine. But if he indeed had a history of domestic violence and mental health struggles, Holman says it still should have been noticed. I reached out to the Department of Homeland Security and asked if these allegations are true, why weren't they caught? DHS did not give us a direct answer, saying it will not identify the agent. The response in part, quote, our law enforcement officers are on the front lines arresting terrorists, gang members, murderers, pedophiles, and rapists. Publicizing their identities puts their lives and the lives of their families at serious risk. It's the same response they gave us last week. We also spoke with Darren Mott, a former FBI special agent. He says ICE agents are not inherently violent, but they often work in volatile environments.
They're 99.7% of the time good people looking to do the right thing for the right reason at the right time. Was this the right thing at the right time? We won't know until the investigation's complete.
Holman also noted ICE is reviewing its internal training for new recruits. But Holman says if Brulette's alleged history is true,
I don't think he should ever cleared vetting.
And that was Sam DeCoste reporting. Well, the Bangor Red Cross is seeking blood donors 2 weeks after the organization declared a nationwide emergency blood shortage. The American Red Cross announced the emergency shortage on July 13th. The organization says the national blood supply fell 25% last month, and it has not seen enough donations over the summer to keep up with demand, prompting the second ever national blood crisis in Red Cross history. Executive Director at the Red Cross of Northern and Eastern Maine, Caroline King, says that donating blood is critical to provide relief to local hospitals and healthcare organizations, and it's easy to do.
There is not enough blood on the shelf. There are not enough people making appointments to donate blood. So we are worried that this is going to start to impact patient care. So please make an appointment if you're able and eligible to give blood. It's an hour. It's quick, it's easy, doesn't hurt. You need someone to hold your hand, I'm always available.
King says the Bangor Blood and Donor Center, located at 900B Hammond Street, has recently been renovated and will be open from 11 to 7 tomorrow. They encourage the public to schedule an appointment by calling 1-800-RED Cross, by visiting redcrossblood.org, or with the Red Cross Donor app. And coming up on the 10 p.m. news on Fox 22, we'll start looking at your national headlines. Keep it right here.
Bogies offers a different kind of night out in Bangor, blending a full restaurant with sports simulators, axe throwing, and live music. We have something for everyone. Bogies, a new way to play.
Lights, camera, cheese! The Cheese House is looking for its next star, and it could be you. If you're 21 or older, enter for your chance to appear in the next commercial. Stop by the Cheese House at 5 Pike Drive in Fairfield to enter. While you're there, browse their huge selection of glassware and 420 specialty foods. But we have the cheese! Remember, entries are happening in person at the Cheese House, 5 Pike Drive in Fairfield. Bring your personality, bring your smile, and we have the cheese.
Need a driveway paved or an entire road surfaced? Give Eaton Paving and Excavation a call. Eaton Paving offers a full line of excavation packages, from new home projects to new and replacement septics and driveways. We also install new shoreland and do shoreland repairs. Our operators have more than 75 years combined experience, and we have been delivering quality, professional service for nearly 3 decades. We strive to exceed your expectations. Give us a call today at 207-348-5630 or visit us at eatonpaving.com.
Troy Jackson bragged about being one of Graham Plattner's earliest supporters. When the news of Plattner's Nazi tattoo came out, Jackson stood with Plattner. When Plattner blamed women for getting raped because they get drunk, Jackson stood by Plattner. And when the media reported Plattner was violent toward women, Jackson stood again with Plattner.
I want to say thank you very much to Troy.
Don't be fooled by Troy Jackson. He's another phony we can't trust. Pine Tree Results PAC is responsible for the content of this advertising.
Bogies offers a different kind of night out in Bangor, blending a full restaurant with sports simulators, axe throwing, and live music. We have something for everyone. Bogies, a new way to play.
You're watching Fox 22, Bangor.
Confessed Idaho killer Brian Kohberger now wants to take back his guilty plea from last summer. Legal experts are skeptical it has much traction, but it's reopening the emotional scars of the victims' families. Fox's Christina Coleman has more.
Brian Kohberger, the man convicted of killing 4 University of Idaho college students, entering a new request to withdraw his guilty plea, claiming he was misled by his legal team.
Are you pleading guilty because you are guilty? Yes.
In a petition to the court, Kohberger now says he was convinced to falsely confess to the murders and that his lawyers advised him to lie to avoid the death penalty.
What he would have to prove to get it all undone would be ineffective assistance of counsel, that his attorneys coerced him or grossly misadvised him. That's a lot to try to prove.
Kohberger is currently serving 4 consecutive life sentences with no possibility of parole.
This is not uncommon for this type of buyer's remorse. And some guy hands you a plate of cream of chicken over toast and says, welcome to the rest of your life. And then they start to sit in that cell and say, well, God, maybe I should have taken a spin at this.
Kohberger's DNA was found on a knife sheath found at the scene, and investigators say his cell phone pinged a nearby tower at least a dozen times before the killings, and again the morning after. Prosecutors believed it was a slam dunk case.
They have records that he bought the type of knife used to kill these students. The evidence is overwhelming.
The family of Kaylee Gonzalez, one of the victims, said they wanted the death penalty, writing in a statement, quote, Brian Kohberger received exactly what he asked for, a deal that spared his life. Know this, he hates that life. He wants another chance to roll the dice. Kohberger says he's prepared to challenge the case on his own, but asked the court to appoint a lawyer to help him moving forward. In Los Angeles, Christina Coleman, Fox News.
Authorities are investigating a deadly shooting in Seattle at a food festival near the city's iconic Space Needle. Fox's William LaJeunesse has the details.
At least 3 dead and 4 injured during a shooting at a festival in Seattle. Thousands had gathered for the annual Bite of Seattle Food and Music Festival near the Space Needle when gunshots rang out, sending the massive crowd running for cover.
When it started shooting, when everyone started running, everyone got scared. I mean, pushing each other, running over signs.
Police say 2 men were involved in a gunfight. One young adult is in custody. The other shooter remains at large.
Officers responded and addressed one of the shooters. That person gave up and was taken into custody. There was another person that we believe that was also involved that fled the scene.
2 victims declared dead at the scene. A third died in the hospital. Officials say 4 other victims all suffered gunshot wounds ranging from a 2-year-old boy to 39 years old.
It's one thing to note, one of the 4 victims that was taken to the hospital was a toddler. Again, this is a terrible, terrible event.
Federal authorities joined the investigation. Bill Daley, formerly with the FBI, calls it a challenging crime scene with no fixed cameras in the 74-acre park.
We just don't know how far, was there kind of a running shooting incident or what it might be, but gathering that forensic evidence is going to be key. Now it comes to finding them. So that's where perhaps technology, cell phone data will come into play to be able to identify who this person is.
Police are asking witnesses to come forward with what they saw and any video that could help the investigation. In Los Angeles, William Lajeunesse, Fox News.
After a weekend attack on a Berlin Pride celebration, the suspect has been shot dead by police, and we're learning more about what authorities knew about that 21-year-old. Fox's Jeff Paul reports.
A nearly 24-hour manhunt ending Sunday night when German police shot and killed the suspect in a deadly attack near a Berlin Pride parade. Officers say they opened fire at the German citizen with Lebanese roots when he rushed towards them with a knife. He died at the scene.
So it was a really crazy time. Maybe for 1 or 2 hours we didn't know anything.
The 21-year-old suspect was suspected of driving a van into a crowd Saturday near the parade route before stabbing people with a machete and what authorities believe was an Islamist terrorist attack. At least 1 person was killed and more than 24 others injured.
These outdoor events with large crowds are what we call in the business a soft target. It's hard to secure an open and outdoor thing like this.
Police say the suspect was known to authorities and was previously convicted of attempting to join ISIS. In May, he was handed a suspended sentence and released pending appeal after the court determined that he distanced himself from the militant group.
We will defend the freedom of our society. Everyone can count on that. We are more. We are stronger.
Hundreds of thousands came to Berlin to celebrate Pride on Saturday. Some have been gathering at a memorial in the city to remember the victims.
We're being attacked in a way by people who simply don't want us to live the way we do, but that's not acceptable.
Officials in Amsterdam say they are making security adjustments for this week's World Pride event following the recent attack in Germany. In London, Jeff Paul, Fox News.
Police in Toronto are investigating after the U.S. consulate was shot at earlier today. It was the 2nd time this year the building has been the target of gunshots. Officials say an officer at the consulate heard a gunshot around 4:45 this morning and saw a white late-model Honda Accord without license plates speeding away. CTV reported the shooting prompted a brief high-speed police chase of the vehicle before the pursuit was called off for safety reasons. Police found 1 shell casing near the consulate and damage to the building's facade. Authorities say on March 10th, 2 suspects fired multiple shots at the consulate before driving away in a stolen vehicle. Well, President Trump says the U.S. is engaged in what he calls, quote, very deep talks with Iran. He tells Axios if they do not work out, the U.S. will go back to very strong military action. This as President Trump was on the midterm election campaign trail. Fox's Lucas Tomlinson has details from the White House.
If you build in a factory in Michigan or someplace in our country and make your automobiles or trucks right here in America, you pay 0 tax and 0 tariff. You pay zero tariff.
You saved our domestic auto industry.
President Trump today also reiterating his call to end the filibuster, posting a warning to the Republican Senate Majority Leader. John Thune should not allow the United States Senate to leave town until it passes the Save America Act or Far better still, terminates the filibuster, where Republicans can then quickly pass everything they ever dreamed of. Critics warn Democrats will be able to do the same thing if they win back the majority in Congress this fall. The president undeterred.
If they don't get it done, it's going to be a very bad thing for the party.
The president also provided an update on Iran.
Right now, they have very friendly negotiations going on. They would not have requested the meeting if we were doing poorly. The only reason they want to meet is because we've been hitting them very hard.
After President Trump vowed Iran would pay for killing American soldiers, over the past 3 nights there have been no U.S. airstrikes, though military assets stand at the ready in the region. Before taking off from Michigan, the president telling Axios, "We are in very deep talks with Iran. If they don't work out, we will go back to very strong military action." Asked how long he's willing to give the new round of talks, the president replied, "Not much time. Either it moves fast or it won't happen at all." Trump showed more patience aboard Air Force One.
I have plenty of time. Plenty of time.
Tomorrow, President Trump will welcome Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu here at the White House, along with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, who will also be meeting with senators on Capitol Hill before a key vote on the long-stalled Russia sanctions bill. At the White House, Lucas Tomlinson, Fox News.
And on that note, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky is scheduled to meet with President Trump at the White House on Tuesday. Zelensky says he is bringing evidence Russia is assisting Iran in targeting U.S. bases in the Middle East. Fox's chief national security correspondent Jennifer Griffin has more.
I'll ask Putin about it. We'll find out.
President Trump's response to Ukraine's Volodymyr Zelensky's claim that Russia is helping Iran.
Hasn't had much impact because we've knocked the hell out of him.
Zelensky says he will share evidence with President Trump Russia is providing Iran satellite imagery of U.S. bases in the Middle East, helping Iran target U.S. troops. Zelensky will be in Washington Tuesday to attend Senator Lindsey Graham's funeral. Ukraine says it struck an Iranian ship in the Caspian Sea that was carrying military cargo, highlighting the growing Russia-Iran partnership and eliciting anger from Iran's foreign minister. Quote, Zelensky has attacked an Iranian commercial vessel, killing a sailor, a blatant UN charter violation. What the freeloader in Kyiv did cannot go unanswered. Iran has provided Russia with thousands of one-way Shahid attack drones since the start of the war. And now there are new signs the conflicts in Europe and the Middle East may be converging and expanding.
North Korea will send to Russia 30,000 of soldiers. Iranians will send missiles to Russia. Then what is really a big problem, China began to work with Russia, and they work on satellites and on technologies and etc. to be more, how to say it, precisive, attacking us.
Earlier today, smoke was seen billowing out of Saudi Aramco oil facilities at sites across Saudi Arabia after being hit by projectiles as part of a growing proxy war with Iran. For the first time, Saudi Arabia's defense ministry is calling out Iraq for allowing Iranian-backed militias to fire drones and missiles from Iraq at targets in Saudi Arabia and elsewhere in the Gulf. Today, a spokesman for the Iraqi prime minister said Iraq will not allow its territory to be used to launch attacks against neighboring countries. In Washington, Jennifer Griffin, Fox News.
Still to come on Fox 22 News at 10, we'll have more of your national headlines. We'll be right back.
You may kiss the bride.
A wedding reception crisis could have Gordon leaving them all at the altar.
I need to chill.
MasterChef, all new Wednesday on Fox.
At Old Town Redemption Center, we are always ready to help with any fundraisers or bottle drives. We are here to help our community. Like and follow us on Facebook for upcoming weekly holiday giveaways and our monthly $100 drawing.
This Nissan lineup goes where you take it. Vehicles built with oomph, torque, traction, and yeah, full control. That's the power of a Nissan. Now's the time to drive. Nissan, Consumer Guide's most awarded brand 5 years in a row. Well-qualified buyers get 0% APR on select model trims or get up to $5,750 total savings on select Frontier trims.
I'm Jim with Lowry Law. One of our clients was badly injured in a hit and run. I was able to work with the police and the DA's office to get him a $500,000 settlement. If you've been hurt by a drunk driver, I'm your go-to guy.
Way up north in Maine, down a road less traveled, lies Golden Road Crossing. We have everything you need to gear up for epic hikes, days spent fishing, and nights under the star-filled skies. Join us at Golden Road Yacht Club for cold drinks and Maine-grown comfort food. Gather round to make new friends, share stories, and create memories to last a lifetime. Come visit us at Golden Road Crossing, your hub on Maine's legendary Golden Road.
Welcome to the show that nobody wants to win.
How you guys feeling?
Stupid.
What did the itsy bitsy spider climb up?
Nation's Dumbest, all new Wednesdays on Fox, anytime on Hulu.
At Old Town Redemption Center, we are always ready to help with any fundraisers or bottle drives. We are here to help our community. Like and follow us on Facebook for upcoming weekly holiday giveaways and our monthly $100 drawing.
More states are reporting cases of a foodborne illness that has been linked to lettuce served at Taco Bell. Public health officials say they are still working to confirm the potential source. Fox's Jonathan Seri has more.
The country's largest outbreak of a severe intestinal disease is expanding. Last week, Illinois, Kansas, Oklahoma, and Pennsylvania joined at least 5 other states in reporting cases. The CDC says more than 1,900 have now been linked to shredded iceberg lettuce from Taylor Farms.
It appears that a lot of these cases are emanating from farms in central Mexico. Probably sewage got onto those growing fields in central Mexico and contaminated those crops.
But in a statement released Friday, Taylor Farms says, quote, according to the FDA, there are no confirmed positive sample results for product testing for Cyclospora. And Mexican health officials announced the parasite was not detected in the lettuce or water at one of the company's regional plants. The FDA says it is also investigating a separate outbreak of the disease linked to an unidentified food product.
Be careful where you get your groceries from, you know. I suggest buying local. It's a more safe procedure rather than buying from produce that you don't know where your vegetables are coming from.
It's raising fears among some lawmakers that the U.S. could see a rise in foodborne illnesses. They point to federal budget cuts that could make it harder to detect and stop the spread.
When you gut the agencies that are responsible for ensuring the safety of our food, these are predictable consequences.
Those criticisms are invalid. We've had no cuts in our surveillance program.
The CDC says the total number of people sick could actually be higher because not all cases are reported. In Atlanta, Jonathan Seri, Fox News.
Raging wildfires in southwestern France have burned an area 4 times the size of Paris, while firefighters in Spain have also have called the blazes they're battling violent, so violent they can't be tackled head on. It's the latest danger on a continent that has been scorchingly hot all summer long, as researchers blame climate change for the unbearable conditions. We go back to Fox's Jeff Paul.
A desperate effort in Western Europe. Firefighters in France and Spain racing to put out infernos raging across both countries as hundreds of thousands flee to escape the flames.
We are powerless today. It has eaten everything in its path.
Others who waited too long are now trapped in their homes. That includes a Tennessee mother of 2 who was ordered to shelter in place as thick black smoke blocks out the skies around her neighborhood.
I can't go anywhere. There's 2 main roads in and out of Biscarros, and they're both on fire.
A similar story in central Spain, where some say they feel like they've been forgotten about by authorities.
A lot of anger and helplessness. They have abandoned us. 3 days in the mountains, and they don't come.
Europe is having one of its hottest summers on record, with temperatures expected to rise even further in the coming days. Dry and windy conditions are complicating efforts to get things under control.
The extinguishing process will stretch over several weeks, maybe even months.
Bordeaux, the city known for being the heart of French wine country, has now turned into a staging area. Emergency shelters were set up after authorities issued mandatory evacuation orders for about 220,000 people in the region. Evacuation efforts across both countries are some of Western Europe's largest since World War II. In London, Jeff Paul, Fox News.
And folks, we have your full 5-day forecast just ahead.
Well, we had very nice weather out there today with temperatures in the low to mid 80s. How long will these warm temperatures last, and will we continue to have summer-like weather? I'll have details for you coming up.
Dreaming of a new garage or custom build? Patriot Landscaping and Construction delivers from frame to finish. Expert craftsmanship, durable designs, and quality you can trust, we get it done right. Call Patriot Landscaping and Construction today. Let's build your future together.
Get 0% APR for up to 48 months or $750 customer cash on the purchase of a new 2026 Sportage.
When outdoors, some people like it hot and some people like it cold. However, when indoors, most people like it comfortably warm. Consider a Rinnai direct vent wall furnace from McCusick Petroleum Company to provide you with comfortable and efficient heat. They also offer sales and service on many brands of furnaces, boilers, and water heaters. McCusick Petroleum Company delivers oil and LP gas to homes and businesses throughout the Pequot region. If you'd like more information on pricing or service, call or stop by our office in Dover Foxcroft.
Honey, where's the countertop?
I sent it out to the granite shop this morning to be replaced.
Wow!
The quickest turnaround in the business, the Granite Shop in Sedgwick.
Dreaming of a new garage or custom build? Patriot Landscaping and Construction delivers from frame to finish. Expert craftsmanship, durable designs, and quality you can trust, we get it done right. Call Patriot Landscaping and Construction today. Let's build your future together.
The stars of IndyCar look to chase down Alex Palou in Portland.
Palou will take the victory!
Sunday, August 9th on Fox. Welcome to the fastest racing on Earth.
Tonight's weather is brought to you by Iron Horse Motorcycle Lawyers. Ride smart, ride safe, enjoy the weekend, and enjoy the road with Iron Horse Motorcycle Lawyers, Booth Bay Harbor. Well, taking a look at those temperatures out there for today, back in the low to mid 80s. Around much of the state, a little bit cooler along that coastline, but still very nice. Now we're going to have very similar temperatures tomorrow. However, the humidity is going to start to climb, and then the temperatures are going to continue to climb after we get a cold front that will come through. This is what we're looking at. Temperatures similar to today for tomorrow into Wednesday. How cold front comes through on Thursday, and then we're right back up into the upper 70s and low 80s leading into the weekend. Now, like I said, we've had very nice weather, not too much humidity. However, after today, the humidity is going to start to climb. That is going to climb, and then it's going to be humid with some warmer temperatures as well. For tonight, the winds will go calm before we get more gusty winds, gusting up to 20 to 25 miles per hour for tomorrow around much of the state. So we will have a good breeze out there to counteract with the humidity and the heat that we will be having. Now, we do have a couple chances for some showers and thunderstorms as well. Not so much right now. We will have a couple showers still trying to make their way into the state. However, those are all dissipating and will continue to dissipate. We will stay dry in our neck of the woods, and it will be clear tonight. However, we will have a few clouds that will start to roll into the state around evening to overnight tomorrow before we do get our next chance for some showers and thunderstorms to make their way into the state. Now, the next chance, like I said, for showers and thunderstorms making their way into the state, looking Wednesday night into much of the day on Thursday. We will see some chances for showers and thunderstorms on Thursday, lingering Thursday night before moving out of the area by Friday. For tonight, mostly clear skies. Those winds will go calm with temperatures hanging out in the mid-50s. For tomorrow, beautiful day out there. Temperatures in the low to mid-80s, partly cloudy, a bit breezy. The humidity will be a little bit high, but like I said, we will have that breeze to help make it feel much nicer out there. Taking a look at your extended forecast, temperatures after tomorrow falling into the upper 80s by Wednesday. Cold front comes through on Thursday, bringing us some chances for showers and thunderstorms. With the temperatures in the low 70s by Friday, we're right back up into the upper 70s. And by the time the weekend rolls around, we are right back into the low 80s.
Thank you, Anna. Folks, sports is next. Don't go anywhere.
There's a lot to love about a Subaru. Find yours at Quirk in Bangor. Built on safety and reliability, lease Crosstrek Premium for $329 per month. Or lease Forester Wilderness for $397 a month. It's a Subaru summer. Find it at Quirk.
What is Spectrum Internet? It's the most reliable internet.
It's connecting with my followers out there and in here.
It's secure internet for you and your family.
It's keeping kids like us safe online.
It's Wi-Fi that stays on even when the power doesn't.
Staying connected no matter what.
So what's Spectrum Internet? It's everything you want it to be. Switch today at spectrum.com.
Bikers are known for giving back, helping others in need, helping Mainers get back on their feet. At the law offices of Joe Bornstein, being Maine's motorcycle lawyers is something we wear proudly, fighting and winning for injured bikers since 1974. We know the Maine roads and the Maine laws. That's why injured bikers know to call Joe, because accidents happen to be our specialty. Born to ride? Keep Joe by your side. Maine's motorcycle lawyers.
It's a hot leasing summer at Quirk Hyundai. Lease a 2026 Hyundai Tucson SE just $259 a month, or Elantra Hybrid for only $229 a month. Premium vibes, bold lines, and America's best warranty. Your Hyundai is waiting. Find it at Quirk.
We're ready for baseball, and off we go.
Major League Baseball, all season long on Fox.
Welcome back in, folks. We'll start with Senior Legion Playoff Baseball. The final round began on Monday, and we've got two games for you here right now. The Bangor Comrades versus Oxford Hills Legion was the first matchup of the day, and Bangor's Gavin Glanville-True gets on base thanks to a short pitch right there. Another gets on with a walk, and then Kyle Johnson steps up, and he absolutely crushes this ball. It comes oh so close to getting out, but regardless, it results in 2 RBIs as Bangor takes a 2-0 lead. Top of the first finally ends when Caleb Peavy catches this one, and now it's going to be Oxford's turn at the plate, but they won't stay on long thanks to plays like this. Ethan Sproul lays out to make this catch and out, and then at the next bat for Bangor, Ian Bourdreau hits this one out, and he gives Owen Glanville-True the time to get home, and it's 3-0 Bangor in the second. The first hit for Oxford comes in the third, but the play is shut down very quickly thanks to this catch. That ends the inning, and Bangor moves on with a 6-1 victory. This is double elimination, so Oxford Hills takes on the Trenton Acadians. First inning, Oxford's first stint at the plate ends when this hit is caught by Trent Goss. And then at the bottom of the first inning, Jackson Berry's hit goes short, but Oxford isn't able to clean it up, and around comes Dawson Curtis. He's going to go ahead and slide onto home plate as the Acadians take a 1-0 lead early. It was a very defensive game after this. The Acadians, they have a hit here and it has big play potential, but Jackson Stack makes the play at center field to end the second inning, still at 1-0. Oxford was able to find their way onto base with hits like this. Bases loaded several times, but they just could not put a score on the board. And then in the third, Ryan Winchester sends this one out. Another Oxford misplay. Hollis Grindal gets home. Trenton stays alive with a 7-1 victory. Let's go national now, starting with the Red Sox, who made a big trade over the weekend. The Sox got active ahead of the August 3rd trade deadline and acquired strong hitting infielder Curtis Mead from the Washington Nationals. In exchange, Boston sends over left-handed pitcher Connolly early. With the Nationals up until this point, Mead had a .254 batting average, 72 hits, 17 home runs, and 48 RBIs. Given that Boston just went on a record-tying 15-game win streak and are now in position to make the playoffs after a pretty disappointing start to the season, this move makes sense to provide further depth in the infield. Interim manager Chad Tracy says that he and his team are sad to see Early go, but are excited to have another hitter in the building.
Connolly Early is loved around here. He's an amazing kid. He's a good pitcher. And he's, friends with a lot of guys in there. So, that part of it's hard. But at the same time, I feel like, you could feel the vibes in the sense that guys feel like we went out and did something to try to make our club better as far as, adding a bat in the lineup. So I think there was excitement about that.
Some Patriots news now. New England has finally inked a deal with second-round pick Gabe Jacas. The linebacker out of Illinois was selected with the 55th overall pick in this year's draft and was a standout in college, totaling 183 tackles, 27 sacks in 4 years, including 43 tackles and 11 sacks in 2025 alone. The Packs inked this deal for the standard 4-year rookie contract worth $8.6 million, and that figure is largely determined by where in the draft he was selected, so this number comes out about right for a mid-second round pick. The contract took a while to finalize, not because of a monetary dispute, but rather an injury-related one. Jacas underwent knee surgery and a knee procedure earlier in the offseason that they were not aware of, and that is why the deal took so long. Jacas will join an already stout New England defense that was largely the reason that they won 3 postseason games to advance to the Super Bowl. And the Pats started training camp this weekend, and on opening day, it wasn't the players that stole the show. The Pats began their training camp with Patriots Day, an annual pet adoption day put on by Robert Kraft and his family, where players take the field with these 4-legged rookies, hoping to find them new homes. Each and every one of these dogs was or is up for adoption, and the team has had quite the success with the program in the past. Here's to hoping that each and every one of these dogs gets signed to a lifetime contract with their forever home soon. That's all the time we have for sports. We'll be right back after the break.
Blazing Trails, located in Lincoln, is your #1 trusted caregiver storefront. From personalized consultations to the highest quality product, Blazing Trails provides outstanding patient services to Eastern and Central Maine. Discover how we're blazing the trails to quality holistic medicine.
I'm Jim with Lowry Law. I was contacted by a woman who asked me to help one of her friends who had been hurt by a drunk driver. We got him a $250,000 settlement. If you've been hurt by a drunk driver, call me. I'm your go-to guy.
30 years living that Washington, D.C. lifestyle. That'll change a person. Getting rich from insider stock trading should be illegal. But Susan Collins doesn't think so. Susan Collins wants to keep it so senators can play the stock market, make millions of dollars doing it. Why we struggle to pay for gas, groceries, health insurance, the basics. For them to get all that money while we're paying more, it's not right. It's not right. Tell Susan Collins to stop this congressional stock trade.
My daughter got Camper of the Week.
Wow, that's a big deal. We got a big deal too. Right, Mom?
Okay, see that brand new Hyundai Santa Fe over there? We only paid.
Listen, Pat.
Nice. Enjoy your new car.
Feels so right, it almost feels wrong. The Hyundai Getaway Sales Event. Lease an all-wheel drive Hyundai Santa Fe SE for $259 a month, or get 0% APR plus 0 payments for 90 days. Hurry in.
Craving something delicious? Welcome to High Street Market, located at 167 Enfield Road in Lincoln. Breakfast options? Grab a cup of coffee and try one of our sandwiches or burritos. When breakfast is over, we're just getting started. Pizza, subs, burgers, and pastries. Come get lost in Danny's Beer Cave. Order online and save 10% off your first order. High Street Market, where your taste buds go to party.
Cancer affects everyone, but there is hope at Northern Light Eastern Maine Medical Center's Champion the Cure Challenge, where every dollar raised helps patients in our own backyard. Make a difference. Walk, run, or cycle August 15th in Brewer. Visit ctcchallenge.org.
Blazing Trails, located in Lincoln, is your #1 trusted caregiver storefront. From personalized consultations to the highest quality product, Blazing Trails provides outstanding patient services to Eastern and Central Maine. Discover how we're blazing the trails to quality holistic medicine.
Let's go get this big money.
Know the song faster than Shazam and win. Feed Shazam returns July 28th on Fox.
Gas prices keep going up. They rose 7.4 cents a gallon in just the last week. According to Gas Buddy's survey of more than 1,200 stations around the state, the average price is now $4.09 a gallon. That's a little over 20 cents a gallon higher than a month ago and $1.04 a gallon more than a year ago. Gas Buddy's head of petroleum analysis, Patrick DeHaan, said, quote, a weekend pullback in hostilities offered some relief, with oil prices opening sharply lower Sunday, suggesting the pace of increases at the pump may moderate in the days ahead. For now, though, motorists should expect prices to remain elevated, end quote. Finally, tonight, a woman in Herman is finding the balance between motherhood and life's demands, all thanks to time spent in her garden. Our Jody Hersey takes us there.
So I'm cutting with something in mind, the perfect amount of fillers, focals, spiky statement flowers.
At the end of Maple Leaf Lane in Herman, you'll find Everjoy Flowers, a homemade flower stand created by 33-year-old Kayla Alexander.
It's just really something that just felt right for me in the postpartum period of having kids. And it just kind of made me slow down and be patient and wait for things. And I fell in love with gardening in the process.
This wife and mother of 3 began her blossoming business with 5 raised beds that soon expanded into a healthy-sized flower garden.
I'm growing currently right now delphiniums, feverfew, yarrow, straw flowers, and then I also really lean towards growing a lot of flowers that you can preserve and dry, so it gives you that everlasting joy.
When her own home became overrun with flowers, she decided to start selling her beautiful bounty to others.
Kayla says since opening her flower stand, a lot of the neighborhood kids have stopped by asking if they can make their own bouquets, which she gladly allows them to do.
It actually turned out so much better than I thought it would. A lot of people are really supportive. They come by and leave nice notes, and they come and stop by and share my page, and it's been amazing.
A mom who has found a way to turn this season of her life into an elegant opportunity. In Herman, I'm Jody Hersey for ABC 7 and Fox 22 News.
You can check out Kayla's bouquets and learn more by going to Everjoy Flowers on Facebook. And that is going to do it for us. From everyone here at Fox 22 News, take care and have a great rest of your night. We'll see you tomorrow.
For more local news coverage, switch over to our sister station, ABC 7, right now for ABC 7 News at 11.
Hey, it's Vince with Sham How. It's the fastest way to dry your car.
Haddish guest hosts Jimmy Kimmel Live with Allison Janney and Ali Carvalho with music from Charlie Puth.
This is ABC 7 News at 11.
A Swiss International Airlines